Welcome back. We are expecting two blockbuster decisions from the Supreme Court today. One on birthright citizenship, the other talking about transgender participation in school sports. That follows a handful of major decisions yesterday that were a mixed bag in outcomes for the Trump administration.
Joining us now, our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rose, to break this down. Khalif, again, as Andy said, two big decisions. Let's start here with birthright. 4 years ago, maybe this would be a different conversation, but with the Supreme Court makeup the way it is now, I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty going into this decision.
Yeah, we get uncertainty from the Supreme Court, from this rendition of the Supreme Court with a number of decisions. Yesterday was nothing, you couldn't guess which way they would go. Uncertainty is probably the best example. This case, Trump v. Barber, I don't think it's uncertain. I think this is going to be pretty much as I anticipate, which the court will strike this down for a number of reasons. And you can only point to looking at oral arguments. Listen to the questions that the justices asked at the time of oral argument, kind of tip their hat to where they are falling on this case. Chief Justice Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, and Clarence Thomas all questioned the administration's legal defense to the executive order. Now, while I believe Clarence Thomas will still rule in favor of the president, I think those other four will rule against the president. And then, all you need is one of the other liberal sitting justices to rule in that favor. But you'll have all three just based off their questions. So you need two of the four that I just mentioned. I think this is pretty cut and dry that they will rule in against the president.
Even with the president's comments saying it would be a bad move that he said yesterday.
Yeah, the president was in chambers during oral arguments when this happened.
That's
so
rare.
I think that's stronger than any social media tweet that he can put out there that says he's disappointed with the ruling from the court. Yeah, that puts pressure on them, but make no mistake about it, judges are guided by the principle of being fair and impartial. Even though there are things that seem to line up with their political ideological lines, I think this rendition of the court still is making sure that they are not going to be pushed or told what to do even by the president. If you don't like their decision because you fall on one side of the aisle or the other, that's different. But I think their decision is more based in their history of how they look at cases, how they're guided by what the foundation of our Constitution says, and from the historical context, more than any type of, guidance from the president. And so I think this case specifically, I would be shocked if they ruled another way.
Quickly, without getting too much in the weeds of the constitutional breakdown there, you spent a lot of time constitutional law and teaching that 14th Amendment. Why was this interpretation of the 14th Amendment so strong in this decision? Or could it be?
It's going to be strong because it says that any person that is under the jurisdiction thereof and any person that is here. So if your feet are here, if you're, born here and you're under that jurisdiction, I believe that is going to be more than enough to stop it. The old case where an individual left this country, had citizenship, tried to come back and was denied and he won, I think was under an even more extraordinary situation and scenario than the one that's in front of the court today. The times at that time was we were in the middle of a war with those countries during the time this person was trying to come back. Yes, we're in a number of different fights across the country, but this one was wartime and the court still made the decision to allow him to come back based on the language of the 14th Amendment. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can only use court precedent to tell me where I believe the court would go in using their own oral argument questions to guide me and help me understand that. I think the precedent is clearly in the hands of the folks that are going against the Trump administration, and I think the questions support that.
And talking about another case that's before the justices is transgender athletes' participation in sports. I'm not asking you to look into your crystal ball, but what do you make of the arguments before the court in that case? There's two different lawsuits, and they're kind of combining it. They likely will into one.
Yes, so you got West Virginia, you got Idaho case. I think this one is going to be different. It's similar to the expansion of the Supreme Court has been doing with its religious-based cases. We've seen historically over the last maybe 4 or 5 cases that have come before the Supreme Court that they've expanded the separation of church and state while also giving folks more power in those places. I think this is going to be one where they rule against the folks that are asking that these things be struck down in both states. It just seems like the writing is on the wall, that the court's questions back to that, listening to them during oral arguments. Yes, I believe it will be combined into one case. I think that makes the most sense. Both of these cases are extremely similar, so you don't need to have two conflicting potentially opinions. Have one opinion and address it to the court, but I think they will rule against the the cases that are attempting to say that this is something that they can't do. So West Virginia and Idaho, that restricting or participation of girls in school-based sports, I think they'll strike those down and saying that or I should say uphold the restrictions and strike down folks' challenges to them for sure.
All right, again, Khalif Rose weighing in on that for us. Khalif, thank you. Those decisions expected today.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.